I hope everyone's doing well. I'm Mr. Ish. Thank you for joining me for this video where we're looking at implicit functions with regards to partial derivatives. Not a technical topic, but an interesting one. Partial derivative implicit functions. We have two conditions here which we have to take notice of, which helps us develop this relationship here on the bottom. What are these conditions? We have a certain function with respect to x and y, and it is continuous in a certain region of space, and in that space we have this particular point. So this function is continuous in the region of a point with this right here, x naught, y naught. When you plug these 2 points into your function, it equals to 0. That right there is a condition 1. You satisfy that condition 1, this point being placed into this function which is continuous at that point, and you're looking at that. Then you look here at the second relationship. You have a partial derivative with respect to the x variable for that function and a partial derivative with respect to the y variable of that function. They are also continuous in that region of that point. But this derivative with respect to y in that function is not equal to 0 at this point. Then this relationship develops. You have 2 points. If they hold true, this relationship comes about. dy over dx. You know dy over dx is no different than y prime. It is equal to a minus partial derivative of f with regards to the x variable divided by partial derivative of f with regards to the y variable. Where does this minus come from? We'll talk about it. What is this implicit function? We'll talk about that as well. But note here, these two conditions give rise to this specific relationship which has a negative sign in it, and this relationship can be expanded to include other variables. We will conclude this video here with a good example where we will show you an expanded version of this relationship, and you will see all of this come to light. Let's look over here at this example to show you how that relationship developed, but this is not our concluding example for the video. Before we look at it, look at this implicit function. You have two types of functions, explicit and implicit. Look here at this function right here, f of x, which is equal to y, is equal to 2x plus 3. Now here I'm looking at a relationship which is explicit. I've clearly said y is equal to 2x plus 3. What if this equation was y minus 2x is equal to 3? I can solve this for y by pushing this 2x on the other side, and I end up with this. Here I've explicitly expressed this function in terms of y. I can do it and it's easy. Look here at this expression now. I have here f of x is equal to, which you know to be y, but I will say here x plus sine xy. Now I'm trying to rewrite this as y is equal to x plus sine xy, and it's right. This is equivalent to what you see. But can I plug this out and separate it such that I can write my equation in the y equals format where I'm explicitly stating it? So I cannot, because this y is inherent to the sine function. You cannot pluck it out and combine it with this. Here you are looking at a function which is implicit with respect to y, because you have a y stuck over here, you have a y stuck over here. You cannot separate them and bring them together. They're stuck in their individual locations, and it's an implicit function. Now keep that in mind. When you're looking here at this example on the top, it's a explicit function. I'm clearly able to write this in terms of y, but I don't need to, because I'm just showing you here an introductory example. I have x squared plus y squared equals 13. There's a specific point 2, 3. Now consider that a condition we're talking about. This f of x0 comma y0 should equal to 0, and it will. When you put 2 and 3 in over here, you'll have a 4 plus a 9, and it's equal to 13. But look, I'm looking at an x squared plus y squared minus 13 is equal to 0. If I put now these points 2 and 3, because I've just basically moved this over here, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. I'm looking at a 4 plus 9 minus 13 is equal to 0. 0 is equal to 0, so I know this condition holds true. When I put that point in, you know it holds true. We're looking here at a representation which is continuous at that particular point. Now what are we looking at with regards to that relationship which I showed you at the beginning? This right here, when I look at it, I'm looking at a representation which is x, which is a function with regards to x and y, and you know it to be right over here. You can rewrite it and bring the 13 on the other side. If I were to look at the derivative with respect to the x variable for that function, what would it be? Everything else is treated as a constant except for that portion which contains your variable of interest being x. I know it to be 2x. If I were to look at it with regard to the y variable, what is it? I'm looking at this here, everything else is a constant. I have here a 2y. But when I look at this in terms of your function and I'm doing the derivative, it's not just 2y, it's a 2y dy over dx. You know that to be the case. When you do implicit differentiation, you're always looking for this particular factor, and this particular factor is equivalent to your y prime. You know that. Now I'm combining these. I'm really looking at this. This is what I really have. If I were to combine them with this representation, I have exactly this pop up. dy over dx, all of this is equal to a0. This is the representation that has come about by doing implicit differentiation. If I were to solve in this relationship right here for this item, I would push this onto the other side. What would I get? I'll have here a minus partial derivative with respect to the x variable and the function, and then I were to push this onto the other side because I'm solving now for dy over dx. And look what develops. You're pushing this onto the other side, it divides. You're looking at the partial derivative now with respect to the y variable, and here's that representation developed. The minus sign comes in naturally as you solve for this. It comes in by means of simple algebra and arithmetic. So you always have to remember there's a minus sign which will pop in, and you cannot forget that. If we were to complete this example, you know we're looking here at this is a 2x, this here is a 2y, and I'm bringing everything into this form. I'm looking here at a minus 2x divided by a 2y. What do I have here? A minus x over y. When you bring in these points right here, 2 comma 3, you know this is an x and y. You bring them in, you have a minus 2 over 3, and this right here can represent the end result of this particular example question. We have this representation, that point, and what was the tangent line slope at that particular point? It's minus 2 or 3. Now let's look here at our concluding example, and we will expand on this relationship. We are looking here at this example over here, and we have to find these two items here on the bottom. We have to find this partial derivative with respect to the z and the x, partial derivative with respect to z and the y. What are the end results? You now know from the beginning of this video dy over dx is equal to a minus, and then you will have here your partial derivative with respect to your function and your x variable, and the partial derivative with respect to the f and the y variable. If you were to look at this, you can now start adding on to this. We're looking here at an expression which is in this form, f of x comma y comma z, because we're looking at three items, three variables. It's implicit, it's not explicit, because you cannot rip those variables out and solve cleanly for one variable with respect to the other. You couldn't. Hence, you're looking at implicit functions over here. When you are looking at this representation over here and you have to start worrying about these items, we can start developing equations over here, and I'll write them out, but then I'll erase them because they'll be intuitive and you don't need to do too much memorizing. This right here is our template. You know a minus comes in naturally by means of arithmetic. When you're looking at this, this is how it's going to come out. You'll have this minus. You can have your function capital or lowercase, it doesn't matter, with respect to your x, and then you're here with respect to your z, and let's make it uniform by keeping it lowercase. That's your first equation of how you'll develop that. If you're wondering how come there's a z here and x here, but there's an x here and a z here, if you were to do fraction algebra, it would work out. You'd have basically, ignoring these signs, you'll have a f over x divided by f over z. When you flip things around, you'll have f over x times z over f. These would cancel out. You'll have your z over x. You can bring in back your partial derivative symbols, and then you'd have exactly this. You can bring your minus sign, and it would make sense. But that right there is your one equation. When you have to find this, you're going to use that template right there, and I've put it out for you. When you have to find this, your template will be this. You're going to be looking at a similar representation. It will be minus. You'll have your function with regards to your y variable partial derivative with your function with regards to your z variable partial derivative, and there's a minus, and these are your representations you'll use to determine your items over here for that implicit function. In this particular example, we're not worrying too much about a point. We would be assuming here that we have a situation such as this. Your x point, your y point, z point, they would give you a situation of this equal to a 0. But we're not worrying about a particular exact tangent line slope. We're not. We're looking here only at basic representations. The example I showed you before, we found a particular tangent line slope. In this example, we're not. I'm going to erase this, but you've seen it. And I'll bring it back as I look at this example and I solve it out step by step. To solve this out, I need to determine the partial derivative with respect to z, your x and the y, and the function. I need to first start by doing this. I'm going to determine this first. How will I do it? In this particular case, this right is my function. I will hold the x variable as my variable of interest. Everything else will be a constant. Here I'm seeing it. You would have to do chain rule over here, but you could do this in your head. I'll show you only one of these. Everything else I'll shortcut through. If I were to do this, I'll say u is equal to xy. Then I'm looking at a function with regards to that u to be sine u. When I do the derivative of this, from this I'll get here a cosine u. When I do the derivative of this, knowing that this right is my variable and that's my constant, I'll have only a y come about. When I recombine everything, I'll have a y cosine u. When I resubstitute, I'll have a y cosine xy. This right here is how I'll work it out, but we can do this through our head because it's easy. You can run this literally through your head. When I'm looking at this first part right here, I get this y cosine xy. When I'm looking over here, there's no x variable at all. It's treated as a constant. The derivative, the partial derivative of a constant will be as 0. When I'm looking over here, I have an x variable, I have a z is my constant. Running through the same principle here, you will here see you'll have a z cosine xz. And that part is done. We've done with that. You could have technically pushed this 1 onto the other side, and you say you're looking here at a minus 1 is equal to 0. When you're doing the partial derivative of the minus 1, it's irrelevant, so you don't even have to bring it in. This right here, 0 is irrelevant. When I combine everything, I have a y cosine xy plus z cosine xz, which I'll rewrite again here, but again better, z cosine xz. So that's done. Now let's look at the partial derivative with respect to the y variable. Here you're looking at the same representation, but you're going to treat the y as your variable, everything else is your constant. When you're looking over here, the y is your variable, x is your constant, it comes out, you'll have a x cosine xy. Here you have a y variable, you have a z cosine yz. There's no y variable, it's a 0. There's no y variable, it's a 0. It goes away. So this right here is your end result for that. Now let's focus here on the z variable determination, partial derivative. You're seeing a z variable here, but it's not here and it's not here. Those are zeros. There's no z variable, it's a constant, it's a 0, but there's a z variable here. Running through this chain rule, you'll have a y cosine yz. Look right here, chain rule again, you'll have a x cosine zx, and we're done. Now what you have to do is start looking at these. You know the templates, I've laid them out and we'll bring them out again. Look right over here. The template for this, if you remember, was going to be minus your function with respect to your x variable, with the minus here coming for sure, and with the z variable. That's what it was, because when you flip things around, then you have a z and x on the bottom, and this is exactly right. I'm looking here at these items. I need this item right here and I need this item here. I'll run those through. I have a minus, but again we don't have a specific point, so we're developing here tangent line functions. You would actually put in your points to get the numerical value, but we don't have that, so we're looking at only at functions. Let me move this here for a little better space. When I'm looking at this representation right here, what's my end result? I'm looking at my partial derivative function with respect to x, or I have my partial derivative function with respect to the z. I have this item here on the top. It'll be here y cosine xy plus z cosine xz divided by this other item right here on the bottom, which will be y cosine yz, and then plus x cosine xz. You can't cancel anything out because their coefficients are different, so nothing will cancel out, but that right there is your answer for this, and it will be correct. Let's look at this next one, then we'll be done. But you can see how here we've expanded on that original template by bringing in a third variable. When we're looking over here, you know the formula will be easy. Now you know it's going to be a minus. The minus comes in by means of algebra and arithmetic. You'll be looking at your partial derivative function with respect to your y variable divided by partial derivative function with respect to your z variable, and you just have to do plugging in and substitution. You'll arrive at your end result. What's your y1? Now here in this particular case, you're looking at these two items here on the bottom. You're going to do, you have a minus x cosine xy plus z cosine yz divided by the z partial derivative coming through. It will be a y cosine yz, and then plus x cosine xz, and this right here will be your end result. It would give you your numerical slope for your tangent line at a particular point. If it were given for this implicit function, it will be a correct answer. So we're done here with this video. You can always reverse back to see the various templates I've presented, but we are done. Thank you for watching.